What's up, YouTube? We are back with another build video, and this is a requested video from multiple people in my community that have watched me play this build on stream. So I've played many different builds, and if you guys have checked out some of my build videos, you've seen some of the builds that I have used. I've tried out many things so far this year, and one area that I have noticed many people struggling with is the center position, primarily in the rec center. People seem to not know what they want to do with the builds that they have and they've created. So what I did is I went in and I've played center many times over the past few years. The majority of my time on NBA 2K since 2K15 has been in the center position. That's usually where I tend to go to. The last couple years I've tried to mix it up quite a bit. And this year specifically, I played a lot more guard. You guys, if you haven't seen it yet, we have a 3-and-D point lockdown perimeter build that I created and I've released to you guys. I played a lot on that build, and a power forward build that I have that does not play center in rec. It has, but it's really not meant for that. So I wanted a center build, an actual center build, and I created this build and I've played with it. I think it's like a 93, 94 at this point. So it's still pretty fresh. But every time I play this build on stream, I'm asked, what does this build do? Like, how can you grab all the boards? How can you score outside and inside? How do you defend the way that you can do with a center build? So I wanted to take the time, put this build together in a video for you guys so you guys can also start dominating as a center in rec. All right, so let's jump into the vitals. We'll go through the body makeup or the body settings and all that before we jump into the attributes. Okay, so the name, obviously we all know the name, the hand, the number doesn't matter, but again, this is a center position. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. All right, so I went with a 7-foot height. I felt the 7-foot height gave a lot of benefits to being able to still run the floor with speed, being able to get the vert that I think is very important when it comes to rebounding, and also being able to be strong enough without sacrificing other areas. I noticed that builds that you get taller, if you want to be stronger, you get much slower. And I didn't want to have a slow build. All right. So on this particular one, I did 232 pounds. This gave me the capability of having the rebounding kind of where I wanted it, also along with the strength. Okay, I put a 7'8" wingspan on this build, and that was primarily for the rebounding and also the block shots. Okay, then the body type body shape doesn't matter. I like solid. I always like somebody who looks a little thick, just like me, right? So that's what I always do for my builds. All right. Let's jump into the attributes on this build. It's pretty insane everything it can do without sacrificing too much in any area that it needs. All right. So we'll start with finishing. The stats on this is an 80 close shot, a 71 driving layup, an 85 driving dunk, an 88 standing dunk, and an 80 post control. You'll notice that none of these are above 90 because again, as I've said in almost every single build video that you've watched, I like my builds to be able to do almost everything. I don't want somebody who is the best at one particular thing because then I'm sacrificing something else significantly. So I like to be able to do a little bit of everything with every build that I make. So you'll notice that. You will never see builds that I have other than the lockdown being a 95 to 99 in any statistical category. So this one, I went with where I thought the strengths needed to be: standing dunk, driving dunk, post control, and close shot. Driving layup, yeah, it's okay, but a 71, you're still going to be doing just fine with that. But you're not going to be driving into the lane a lot and trying to do, hop step, Euro step layups or anything kind of crazy with the layup. You're really going to be trying to slam the ball on people, right? So, and get in position to put that shot up, a close shot. So, with all of this, it gives you 24 finishing badges. And what that really entails you to do is you can look at this, you can look at these tier 3s. Some of these are pretty good. I think Rise Up, Fast Twitch, those are pretty decent badges. Master this year is a good badge. Bully, if you really want to get Bully, go for it. Bully can be an interesting badge to get on here. But here's where I start looking at these ones. Back down, drop stepper, posterizer, which I think is a really good badge for this type of build. Aerial wizard if you want to be able to somebody that catches oops, especially when we start looking at the speed on this type of build. A lot of centers that I've gone against in rec haven't been able to keep up the way that I thought they would be able to. I played against some smaller people, and they're pretty fast, but when it comes to those bigger centers, they can't keep up the way that they need to. We start looking over here. Giant Slayer is actually a very interesting badge for this build because it is 7 foot. If you go against 7-1 to 7-3 builds, this badge actually becomes very beneficial for you. Post Spin Technician, Dream Shake, Limitless Takeoff, Slithery, all these, Fearless Finisher, absolutely, you can really kind of mess around with these badges. And remember, you have the +4 if you want to put badge points into finishing to do a little bit more with it. This build has the capability of doing it. I'll tell you at the end what I've put my +4 in, and I've found a lot of benefit to it, but you're capable of doing a lot when it comes to finishing. All right, so shooting. Again, I've said these kind of phrases many times. This isn't a shooting build, but this build can shoot. You got to think at a 7-foot center with the finishing that it has, being able to be an inside game, and trust me, I've done a lot of good work inside with this build. It still can pop out. It's still a popper build. And that's what people aren't realizing about this build a lot when I face them, is I go inside quickly off the rip just to be able to showcase I can be inside. I can slam the ball as a standing dunk. I can finish close. I've got the drop step or badge already going. Like, it's hard to guard me inside to begin with. And then what I do is I then do some pick and pops, right? Or just stand out in the corner and nail a couple threes. And people have a really difficult time then adjusting to that. So on this one, the mid-range is a 73, which I think mid-range is a little broken this year when it comes to being able to shoot it. So a 73 is more than okay. An 82 three-point shot. And then this build, because I wanted to have it in the rec, I left the free throw up a little bit higher than what I would do if it was more of a park build. But a 72 free throw, you should definitely be able to hold your own. And that leaves you with 18 shooting badge points, okay? So on this one, if we come over here to the tier 3, we have the capability of locking tier 3. Maybe catch and shoot if you really want to have it is a good badge. Limitless, I think, is a waste of time. Corner Specialist could be beneficial. Deadeye, I don't really need it. Over here, we're looking at, Blinders, Green Machine, Guard Up, Claymore. Those are very beneficial. Over here, also Amped, because if you're moving around a lot as a center, sending a lot of picks. Slippery Off-Ball could be beneficial if you really want to be a popper. Even Volume Shooter, if you tend to be the one that is getting fed a lot, this could be a very beneficial badge for you as well. But overall, I think tier 2 badges are the most important on this one, with maybe tier 3 with a catch and shoot and corner specialist being those other badges that you might want. But 18 badge points already when you already have 24 finishing? Come on. Okay, so playmaking. This is not a dribbling build. If you want a dribbling center, make something else, because this is not the build for you. Okay, but pass accuracy is a 74. This is very beneficial when it comes to break starter, because you'll see when we get to rebounding and the vertical, you grab a lot of boards with this build. So being able to pass the ball out very quickly, with the 74 pass accuracy, you're going to be just fine. Ball handle is up to a 41. This is to help get to the 9 badge points, but also you're not going to get ripped as easy as, as quick. Okay. On this one, tier 3 badges you're not capable of getting the tier 3 badges. So none of these really matter to you. You're going to be looking at break starter, vice grip for when you grab boards. This one's a huge one for you. Bailout even could be beneficial. Over here, none of these really are that beneficial. Maybe quick first step if you wanted to add on a bronze badge, but that's 3 points right there. So probably not. I mean, really, these 3 are probably the only ones that I would even look at putting badge points on. Okay. Okay, so defensive and rebounding. Here we go. This is where, again, the money is made. So if you got finishing, the second one is your defensive and rebounding. On the offensive end, this is an inside build who can pop. We've talked about that. Who can shoot the 3. But the defensive side, this is where you're going to shine, okay? So interior defense is an 80. You may look at that and go like, wow, I want a little bit higher, maybe to get my brick wall up, or I want to be able to guard anybody. 80 is great. When we get to strength and stuff, you'll see 80 is, you're fine with 80, okay? Perimeter defense is only a 52. There's only so many points that I could apply to this to defense. It would have been nice to get this up a little bit higher because there is a lot of perimeter players. But when you start matching up against other centers that play on the perimeter, they're not dribbling in. You're not going to have to lock them down. You're going to be just fine being able to contest shots and guard against the center. And you're going to find a lot of benefit to this build on the perimeter when you're guarding centers that do try to make moves, because you are fast enough. Your lateral quickness is fast enough still to get in front of them. So perimeter defense is only 52. It's a little bit of a sacrifice for this build, but trust me, it doesn't take away from the capabilities that you have. A steal is up to a 68. This steal at being at a 68, it's not one of those things that you look at going like, wow, this is going to get a lot of steals. Mainly it was just to make sure that the badge points went up to a 25. I thought about having this down and offensive rebounding up, but I mean, overall, this build steals, you still get a lot of tips, especially when it comes to the defensive end. All right, block up to a 93. You're going to block a lot of shots. I've had some pretty nasty blocks already without having anchor on. Offensive rebound is only a 77. Again, there had to be sacrifices for this build to be able to pop and finish, along with being able to pass the ball. So offensive rebound is only a 77, but primarily if you're in position, you're still going to get quite a few offensive rebounds. I do. So I would definitely work on positioning in your box out, which we'll talk a little bit about the badge points here when it comes to that. But 77, you're doing just fine, especially when we start adding in the vert, okay? And the defensive rebound is a 93. The only thing that I would say to take a look at is if you want to really be a rebounder, if you want to sacrifice some other stuff, maybe you're shooting and you don't want to be a shooter, maybe finishing, you don't want to have as high of a standing dunk, you could get your defensive rebound up higher and be even a better defensive rebound. But I thought 93, and I've found a lot of benefit with 93 overall. It gives you that gold rebound chaser capability. So 93 is exactly where I think you need to be with this type of build. All right, the badges. So you get 25 badge points. I said I was going to tell you, I put all 4 of my extra badge points in this section because, again, I wanted this build to be able to be the defensive anchor without having to put everything into defense. Okay, so I didn't want it to sacrifice other statistical categories, but I still wanted it to be a good defender. All right, so tier 3 badges. I mean, all of these could be beneficial. Rebound chaser, I think, is obviously the most beneficial. Anchor is another good one here. Brick wall this year, screens are a little bit broken. I don't know if that's going to end up getting changed. I don't put anything into brick wall and still set really good screens. I don't know if it has to do with strength, but I wouldn't worry too much about putting so many badge points into that, especially when there's other stuff. But you're sitting at 29 badge points with that +4. You're able to unlock some certain stuff. Pogo stick, if you're a jumper, which I used to be years past, I've gotten a lot better with that. Pogo stick is beneficial, but I wouldn't stress too much about Pogo stick either. Now, box out beast, huge badge. Huge badge. People will worm you easy this year. So with box out beast, it eliminates that capability. So I would definitely put badge points into box out beast. Chase down is a good badge also for this one. With the speed, you're able to catch up and block shots from behind. That's where I get the majority of my block shots with chase down. I think right now I only have it on silver, but I still block quite a few shots. Post lockdown with the strength, it's not something you really need. If you find yourself going against a lot of post scorers who can back you down easy, maybe take a look at this badge, but I wouldn't stress too much about it. Glove and interceptor, I definitely put on. It's only bronze, but you see a difference, so definitely put it on. Challenger is another interesting one. If you're going against a lot of outside centers, having the challenger and being able to contest shots a little bit better could be beneficial, and it's only 1 extra badge point for bronze, so take a look at that. And workhorse, I think, is another good one for this type of build if you're able to, depending on where you want to take away to get the badge points to get this on, at least to bronze, maybe silver. It's something to take a look at. But overall, 29 badge points for all of these badges that you have the capability of getting. You're going to be able to make a really good defensive center, both on the perimeter with glove, interceptor, and challenger, along within the paint, right? With being able to get anchor, being able to grab boards with rebound chaser, chase down artist, and then obviously box out beast. So amazing capability both offensively and defensively, and a lot of that is contributed to the next section, which is the physicals. Okay, so you're only at 7 foot. You're 232 pounds with the 7'8" wingspan. You don't even have max wingspan on this build. So you need to be able to make up for it. And there's a couple ways that we do that with this build. One is the speed. 74 speed up to a 78 with the training facility. So 78 speed on a 7-foot center. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Without sacrificing some of this other stuff. 68 acceleration up to a 72 with the Gatorade training facility. So, I mean, a 72 acceleration on a 7-foot build, that's why you get that lateral quickness. That's why you're able to still contest on the perimeter with this build and get back to where you need to be. Strength, you have an 80 strength on this build. An 80 strength on this build, still with that speed. So you get in position, you're not going to get pushed around. 80 strength is huge. Now, this next one is one of the most important sections for this build, which is an 80 vert. So at 7 foot, you have an 80 vertical to jump up with a 93 defensive rebound. This is why you snag. This is why, because those other builds that don't have the vert, they have a 60 vertical and a 7-2 build, you're going to be jumping up higher, especially when you get your timing down for rebounds. One of the things that I have a lot of benefit of playing center for so many years, being able to know when to jump. You jump up and you'll see this build leap above and beyond everybody. I mean, his head is wherever the people's hands are, grabbing boards and ripping them down. It's crazy to watch, but that's why this vertical is so big on this type of build. And then on this one, I put a 92 stamina. I think centers deserve a little bit more stamina because they are doing quite a bit. So I put a little bit more stamina than I normally do. Usually I'm down at a 90. You could go down to a 90, maybe put your free throw up if you want to be more clutch when it comes to that. But a 92 stamina is where I put it just because there are some extra badge points, so I thought I would. So this is the build. Here are the attributes. It can finish with 24 finishing badge points. It has 18 shooting badge points. It only has 9 playmaking, but the 9 playmaking go to the areas that you actually need on a center build. And then 25 defensive badge points. You have the capability of adding the +4 in any of these sections. I personally went with defensive and rebound because that's where I wanted my primary focus to be on this build. But with the physical attributes along with it, it's over. You will be the best center in every rec game that you play, regardless of who you go up against. You have the capability of doing everything without really sacrificing anything. And that's the key to having the best build on the floor. When they say, he's scoring inside, we got to stop him inside, and then you go out and shoot a couple threes and green those, and then they're like, what do we do now? And then you throw in the ball out after snagging every board because their 7-3 center can't jump that high, and you're boxing them out with box out beast. Money in the bank. All right, so let's take a look at the takeover capabilities. As you see, I went with See the Future as my primary takeover badge. I think it's probably the most beneficial for somebody who want to rebound. I like to be able to see where the ball is going to go so I can get in position and box out accordingly. But as you see, this build has the capability of having the shooting ones, the interior defensive ones, rebounding, and you still have the post score. So if you want to do more scoring inside and want to be more of an offensive threat inside, you can get the post scoring badges on top of it. So as you see, I went with See the Future and Limitless Range. I wanted to be able to pop out more. I think there is a lot of spacing issues in rec, so I wanted to be able to take myself out of the paint, open that up when I have my takeover, so it takes away from those that are wanting to go in and finish. But if you have the want and the desire to be that post scorer, use those takeovers, okay? Absolutely, this build will dominate for you. All right, so the last thing we need to do, let's take a look at the comparisons for this build and see who we are matched up just like. We have Jack Sikma, who I think is an underrated player from the history of the NBA. Jarrett Allen, who's amazing in his own right. And my boy, Yusuf Nurkic, Trailblazer, amazing. I love it. This build is incredible. It's an inside-out glass cleaner. I mean, really, that is a perfect definition of this build based on what you've seen. So guys, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn the notifications all on with that bell, and make sure you leave a comment below. Did you try it? Did you change something? What do you think? That's it for this one, guys. Until next time, see you again.